Russian forces claim capture of town in Pokrovsk area, but next steps unclear. Russia on December 29th claimed to have seized another town in Ukraine's Donetsk region as it continues its long, bloody drive against the strategic, but nearly destroyed, southern logistics hub of Pokrovsk. Russia's defense ministry said its forces have captured Novotroitska, a settlement with a pre-war population 6,300 about 16 kilometers south of Pokrovsk. The Ukrainian military did not comment specifically about Novotroitska, but it said Russian troops had carried out 133 attacks on its positions as of 4 p.m. on December 29th, the largest number in the Pokrovsk area. In the Pokrovsk direction, since the beginning of the day, the occupiers have already made 26 attempts to push our defenders out of their positions in several settlements. On December 15th, British intelligence said Russian forces had made gains south of Pokrovsk, but it is not clear what the Kremlin forces' next steps will be. The US-based Institute for the Study of War, or ISW, said geolocation data suggested the Russian military was about 10 kilometers from the border of the Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions. Russian President Vladimir Putin may be putting pressure on the Russian military command to advance to the border and not to cover Pokrovsk at this time. Heavy fighting was also reported in Russia's Kursk region, where Ukrainian forces battled to hold territory taken earlier this year. In the Kursk region, Ukrainian defenders repelled 16 attacks by Russian invaders today. 19 clashes continue. In addition, the enemy launched 152 artillery attacks. As Russian troops head for Kursk, Ukraine's HIMARS rockets hit them halfway. It's terrible. Something struck a group of Russian troops in Lgov, a town of 21,000 in western Russia's Kursk Oblast, late Sunday or early Monday. A Ukrainian official insinuated the fire was the result of a Ukrainian raid, which would make sense. Lgov lies just 30 miles north of the town of Sudzha, the anchor of the 250-square-mile salient that Ukrainian forces carved out of Kursk back in August. It's a key road and rail node for troops and supplies supporting the 2-month-old Russian counteroffensive in Kursk. The Ukrainians have targeted Lgov before, most notably on Christmas Day, when Ukrainian munitions, possibly from American-made high-mobility artillery rocket systems launchers, blew up a headquarters belonging to the 810th Naval Infantry Brigade, one of the lead units for the Russian counteroffensive. That attack, a fiery impression, according to the Ukrainian Center for Strategic Communications, came just days before the Kremlin pulled the battered 810th Naval Infantry Brigade off the front line in order to replenish its losses. Ukrainian strikes on Lgov help to explain why 50,000 or more Russians, along with 12,000 North Korean reinforcements, haven't yet been able to eject 20,000 Ukrainians from Kursk, despite relentlessly attacking the Ukrainian salient from all sides for 2 months. Russia is still battling on its own territory and has been unable to drive Ukraine out of Kursk Oblast. Finnish analyst Joni Askola noted, "It's quite pathetic." But the Russians' failures in Kursk aren't just the result of their own incompetence. These failures are also the consequence of a successful campaign of deep strikes by Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainians are hitting Russian assault groups with mines, drones, and artillery as the Russians bear down on Ukrainian positions, and they're also disrupting Russian logistics, reinforcements, and command by hitting them with rockets from tens of miles away. Russian forces suffered 38,000 casualties in Kyiv's incursion into the Kursk region, according to Ukraine's commander-in-chief, Oleksandr Syrsky said on Wednesday, that Russian forces had also lost over 1,000 pieces of equipment and that Ukraine had taken hundreds of Russian troops captive. After visiting the region to reward his troops serving there, Syrski said in a Telegram post on Wednesday that the Russian army had lost over 38,000 troops. "We will continue to destroy the invaders," said Syrski according to a translation. "It doesn't matter whether they have Russian or North Korean passports." Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on December 23rd that more than 3,000 North Korean soldiers had been killed or injured since their deployment in Kursk. However, Ukraine risks losing those hard-won gains and has warned that Russia has 50,000 troops stationed in the region, including the North Korean soldiers.